Welcome to Sips with Scrubs, a nurse podcast where we talk about the good, bad, and ugly of being a nurse. I'm your host, Nurse Laney. For those who are new here, welcome. It's been a while since we've done a solo episode, so it's kind of getting back into the groove of things. But I'm so glad. Ooh, I can't talk. I'm so glad to be here with you guys, sharing this moment with y'all. If y'all are watching on YouTube, you can see that we're extremely comfortable today. I got my blanket. I love me a good blanket, y'all. I got my blanket. I'm in t-shirt, sweats, remnants of makeup that I had on from church earlier, and it's actually later in the evening. Normally I record my episodes in the middle of the day, but it's actually quite late, so a little bit different vibe than I'm normally doing for myself, but I quite like it here. It's a thing. So I'm actually going to be sipping on leftover sangria that I had from the episode I did with Sydney. If you guys watched that, I had Sydney on Halloween, and we did Halloween sangria. So I'm actually trying to drink the rest of that, and it's probably not a good idea because now that I'm looking at the carafe, there's quite a bit left. I'm going to show y'all real quick. For those who are watching on YouTube, those who are just listening, it might be like, girl, I'm not good with measurements. Maybe like 1/6 or something in the carafe left. And I have a full wine glass that I'll be sipping on throughout today's episode. So that's what we're going to be doing. If you guys have anything that y'all want to sip along to throughout today's episode, go ahead and pour you a glass of wine, tea, coffee, water, whatever your vibe is for the day, and we're gonna move forward. So today's bad scrub is gonna be Mavis Lopez. So Miss Lopez was charged with manslaughter, and this is asserting that she was so grossly negligent that she was warranted this criminal charge. Because I think from a lot of the ones that I've been doing on here, they may be negligent, but they're not charged with like manslaughter or anything to that nature. It's just basically like negligence, or it's like fraud or theft or something like that. But when she was charged, they were trying to say that she was so negligent to the point that she should be charged with manslaughter. So what happened with this incident is that the nurse crushed a mixture of painkillers and other pills that included metoprolol, and she administered them via IV due to the patient having difficulty swallowing. Now, those who are well versed in the medical field know that if somebody's having difficulty swallowing, this is not what we do. You not just crushing up meds and giving them like that. Not that route anyway. That's like basic nursing knowledge. What you would do, you'd have to get a swallow test done by a speech pathologist, or and then once they pass it, even nurses can do a swallow test, but normally they're kind of confirmed like what diet they're on with the speech pathologist. Anyway, they'll likely place an NG tube unless there's like some contraindication as to why they don't, or basically maybe the patient's status has changed and they're just deciding not to go that route. So that's more likely they'll get an NG tube placed, or even maybe so they'll get a PEG tube placed. So it's never a fact that we're going to crush meds and administer them via IV. That's just not ever how it's done. So that's what the point is that it was so negligent, because that's basic nursing knowledge. Now this did happen like quite some time ago, so the trial and everything has already been completed. So she actually was charged 5 years and 8 months after doing this. So what happened during the incident is that the patient ended up complaining of pain in her arm, and then within 2 hours she suffered a heart attack, and that claimed her life. So the argument that they were trying to do is that, oh, like she wasn't supposed to be doing that, but that's not actually what caused her to die, type of thing. But they couldn't say that that wasn't the case because she had painkillers and metoprolol, and it's like, what kind of effect did that have in her body that led to her death? Because that's not how it's supposed to be done. So that's kind of what the argument was here surrounding this issue. So she went to trial, and after 27 hours of deliberation, the jury was unable to reach a verdict and were discharged. So basically, she didn't get charged for anything, from my understanding of reading the articles, because they couldn't reach a verdict. So the charges were dropped. So that's actually kind of crazy. Now that I'm thinking about it, ooh, I don't know how the legal stuff works. I need to research it more, but I think that once you're tried for one thing, you can't be charged for the same thing again. If it's like the same incident, it has to be a new situation, I believe. But I'm like, if she was charged with manslaughter and they couldn't reach a verdict on that, was she not charged for like negligence or any of the other things that could have it been? So I don't know. Y'all let me know down in the comments or on my Instagram page, Sips with Scrubs, where we talk about these things at more in detail and have some interaction. Let me know, because I'm not entirely sure about that, but I just thought about that. But to my knowledge, the charges were dropped. And like I said, this actually came out a while ago. I think it was like 2015 or something of that nature, 2015, 2018. It's been some time. So y'all let me know if y'all read it and y'all come to a different conclusion than I did. From what I read, that's basically what I gathered. All right, so now we're going to get into What Would Lainey Do? This is a segment on the podcast where I answer advice questions. So if you guys have anything that y'all want my opinion on or what I think about the matter, go ahead and y'all can DM me on Sips with Scrubs to keep it anonymous if that's what you feel like you need to do. If it's like a specialty or something I'm not familiar with, I'll try to consult somebody else and I'll let y'all know what they thought about it. Because I feel like the more and more I'm like becoming an older nurse, I feel like certain people can't give you advice, especially like if they're not in a similar situation. Like, I don't have advice that I can tell a travel nurse because I've never traveled before. I could give you like generic nursing advice that could probably apply anywhere, and I might have a little bit of different perspective because I do float pool, so I'm not central at one location all the time, so I kind of have the feel of a travel nurse. But at the same time, I'm not like removing myself from my home life. I'm not, being displaced or anything like that, having to find different ways of living, finding where I'm going to eat at. I'm not dealing with any of that sort of thing. So that adds a whole nother element of being a nurse to it. So if I don't work in your specialty, or if I don't have knowledge on something and y'all still like want advice, I'll make sure to connect with the right people so that y'all can get some of y'all advice answered on here. So today's What Will Lenny Do? I'll read it verbatim. This nurse wrote that she works ortho/neuro med-surg nights. She's also a clinical coordinator and charge nurse. We take up to 6 patients, including myself being charged. I already have a problem with that, but we're going to keep reading. Our ICU/CVU nurses, when floated with, will only take 4 patients. I'm fully aware of this. So Sunday night, an ICU nurse floated to our unit. I verified with her, "You are from ICU, correct?" And she said yes, nothing else. Throughout the night, I asked this nurse if she needed help with anything multiple times and even helped her with the med pass, despite the fact that I had 5 patients. Through the night, myself and the other med-surg nurses took all of the admissions. I ended up with 5 patients. The floor nurses had 6 patients and the ICU nurse had 4 patients. My manager called me yesterday and said that the ICU nurse submitted a report/complaint against me that I pressured her into taking 6 patients. This never happened. My manager looked at the staffing sheet and obviously doesn't believe this happened. But the more I think about it, the more I get upset, because why do white people feel like they can just lie on you for no reason? My fiance thinks I should leave it alone because my manager doesn't believe it and I'm not getting in any trouble. But I think I should set up a meeting with her and her manager, and 1, let her look me in the eyes and tell me she lied, and 2, apologize. This was something so minor, but if you would lie about something as stupid as this, what else would you lie about? And if she would have lied about something more serious, I guarantee they would take Karen's word over mine, especially being I work at a facility that is dominated by mostly white men and women. Any advice? I think I'm reaching the age where I'm moving toward being less confrontational if it's not going to gain me anything. So I think before I initiate any action, I always ask myself, is what they're doing causing any patient harm? Or like what am I trying to gain from this experience? And because, you might have an expectation. Like, what do you expect them to do to this nurse for lying? Like, I don't think you really could get reprimanded for that, other than you just being like, don't do that anymore. She doesn't work on your unit, so you don't have to see her regularly. I think I'd have more of an issue if it's somebody I work with and I'll be continue to be working with, because that can impact work relationships and things of that nature. So I think I'd take more action if it was a situation such as that. However, this is not the case here. This is just somebody who's visiting your unit and most likely probably won't come back again. I think I'd make the point to my manager, like, I don't want her coming back on his unit or something like that. If somebody else could float, let them float instead of her. And if it is, like, if she is coming back, like, if somebody else is charging, that's fine, but you don't want to work with her. Like, I could feel like it going like that way sort of thing. But like setting up a meeting with her, trying to get her to tell you that she lied on you and things of that nature, I don't know if it's worth it, to be honest. And I understand the anger, I understand the frustration, but like I said, what is there to gain from that? Because I feel like sometimes you go through all that stuff and then you get to the point where you're telling the people stuff and y'all are doing the things, and then it like amounts to nothing, and now you just wasted your time and your energy, and now you're even more upset than you were to begin with, because now it's like, I expressed to you how I was feeling about this, I expressed to you like the detriments that this could cause, and no action was taken. So that actually ends up frustrating me more. So for me, I probably wouldn't do anything. At the most, I'd probably tell my manager, well, I don't want to work with her any longer. If I'm going to be charging and then they need somebody from ICU to float, I don't want to be working with her, because like she said, she lied on her once. Like, what's to stop her from lying on me again? So I wouldn't want to work with her, but seeing as though the chances are slim of that happening, because how often is the unit short, and how often is the nurses coming from ICU, and how often would it be like the same nurse coming, you know what I mean? Because they like rotate who floats. So due to those things, I'd probably be like, it's not forgivable. I mean, everything I feel like could be forgivable, but I'm like, it's kind of like, I don't have to do all that for this. I think that's the most that I would do, is just express that I don't want to work with that nurse anymore. If they need somebody to float from ICU, they need to float somebody else or something like that. And since she's charging, she could take note of who the name is, and if the situation should arise and somebody needs to float from ICU, she should be able to manage that because of this situation here. I probably try to get it documented or something like that, so you could actually have a valid reason as to why, because I don't think most times people press for like, why don't you want this person or whatever. But in the event they do, you could have it like on file or something like that. Like, she did this the last time she was here, so we don't want her here anymore. She don't want to be there anyway, so I highly doubt like it'll be any type of pushback. But I think that's what I would do. I feel like I said, if she was working with me continuously, I'll take a different approach. Or I think that's mainly it. Like, if I was going to see her again, like, if I had to keep dealing with her, I probably would want to like talk and do a whole meeting and all that. But just for this, like, I don't think it's worth the time, to be honest. So that's my advice regarding the matter. If y'all have anything that y'all want to say, y'all definitely let me know down below in the comments. On Instagram, like I said, where we share some of our thoughts over there on Sips of Scrubs. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this. What would Lainey do? But that's definitely what I'm going with for right now. All right, so I went and got my conversation card so we could talk about a couple of things before we get into what I really wanted to talk about this episode. So I'm gonna kind of shuffle them. If we've done one of these before and I've spoken on it, I won't answer it. So I just shuffle these around. Let's see. So this card is, what's the best part of being a nurse? So for those who are new here, I pre-record a lot of my episodes because it's just best suited for how my lifestyle is, and I like doing the podcast and even the vlogs, but at the same time, it's kind of like a job if you want it to be well, like if you want to execute it to like the best of your ability, or for whatever resources you have at the time or whatever like that. So it can be a lot time. It can be a lot, like it could be time consuming. Okay, sometimes I stumble over my words. Anyway, it could be very time consuming to like do that like consistently, you know what I'm saying? So I pre-record a lot of my episodes. So I'm saying all that to say is I have an episode coming out with Alex. She's a nurse that I started my nurse residency with when I first became a new graduate nurse. And we actually touched on this topic. And I'm not sure if it comes out yet or if I'm going to put this one out first. So if y'all heard this before, whatever, disregard, or, you know, it is what it is. But we actually didn't answer this question. It just came up like in conversation. So for me, the best part of being a nurse is that the job is rewarding. That's part of what we talked about. I talked about a lot about how people just telling you thank you and being grateful for you being their nurse really makes a difference, and is really why I became a nurse, or part of the reason why I became a nurse. I was actually thinking about this the other day because I don't think I've ever verbalized this to anybody, but I became a nurse because I wanted my life to be that of service. Like, I'm a Christian, and I feel like it aligns with what I want to be as a Christian, or who I am as a Christian, and it forces me to grow as a person, like character development, and it gives me an opportunity to interact with a lot of different people and learn more about myself and learn how to just be a better person overall. I feel like being a part of a Christian is like serving others, and you know, whatever that entails. So I felt like my job is an extension of that. I feel like you can demonstrate your Christianity in any job you do, because you interact with people, and the way you handle things, and the way that you talk about things, and the way that you carry yourself can reflect in whatever you do, like career wise. As a Christian, I don't feel like those things are necessarily separate. I feel like it's what you embody and how you carry yourself. Like, it flows from what your foundation is, which mine is Christianity. So with that, I wanted to choose a career that was an extension of that, where it would be like a seamless flow, but also one that challenged me intellectually. And, you know, I guess that's basically it. Like, serving and challenging me intellectually. I always had an interest in medical things, so that's why I became a nurse. But I was saying all that to say is that that's why I find that the best part of being a nurse, because I'm doing like what I want to do essentially. Like, that's my goal in life. Like, I feel like that's part of my purpose. So I feel like I'm able to execute that with being a nurse. So when I get feedback that like, oh, like you made my experience here better, you helped my day, like I didn't like understand what they were saying, but then when you told it to me like this, now I get it. Like, helping ease people anxiety and like being that kind of buffer between like doctors with their medical jargon and like regular people. I like stuff like that. I want to ease the process, you know. I've been thinking about lately, I get real reflective like towards the end of the year and around my birthday. I just think it's like the seasons or whatever. This won't come out until later, but it's actually like November right now. But I just been reflecting a lot lately, and I want everybody to have a positive interaction with me when I come across them. Like, that's what I'm striving towards now. Like, I want people to be like feel pleasant when they're around me. Like, I want to leave people better than they came to me. And I don't care if you like me or if you don't like me, but just because you don't like you don't have to like my personality, because everybody has their differences and things like that. But I do want to add value to people's lives and things of that nature. And I feel like that's the best part of being a nurse, because I feel like I'm adding that to people's life. Like, I feel like in their worst moment, or they're going through a troubling time, like I'm easing that for them. So I really enjoy that. I really enjoy even like impacting my coworkers' life. Like as a float pool nurse, when I come, I alleviate them from dealing with patients maybe they've been dealing with a long time. Like this past couple of shifts I worked at one of the community hospitals, they have a rotator patient, which is like someone who could be considered to be like a heavier patient, as in like needier, or like they require a lot of care or something like that. So a lot of times they rotate the patient so that the nurses won't get burnt out on the unit. So I've actually been getting that patient a lot whenever I go over there, because I'm not there all the time and they're trying to give their nurses a break, which I'm fine with, because I'm like, I'm here for a day and then I'm going tomorrow. So it makes it a lot easier for me to deal with things like that. So I like that, because I'm able to alleviate my coworkers, give them a break, you know what I'm saying? Or even like lend a helping hand, because now that I go to a lot of different facilities, I have a different perspective than from just being in one unit all the time. And I see a lot of different medical conditions, and I experience a wider range of diagnoses and things like that. So I'm able to add value, like I'm saying, to their lives as well, because I could be like, it's not just this job, it's like that everywhere. Or sometimes, people get discouraged because of what's going on in their particular situation, but it's like some of that is just honestly the nursing field in general. Is it right? No. Should it be changed? Yes. But this is just where we are right now, and until we get people to positions where they can make that sort of change, then we're just gonna have to deal with it the best that we can. So I feel like I could be comforting in that aspect, to let them know, like, basically they're not alone and there's BS everywhere. That could be comforting, or that could be kind of like, well, damn, like, like, do I really want to do this? But for me, it's just kind of like a perspective. I don't really so much think of all the things I hate about nursing all the time. I think more so of what keeps me in it. And getting those interactions with the patients like that, and like with the family, like the gratefulness and stuff like that, it actually carries me a long way, is what I was talking to Alex about. Like, I could deal with like 50 bad things, and I get one person who tells me like, you made a difference in my life today, and I'm like over the moon. So that's my favorite part, or that's the best part of being a nurse to me. Y'all let me know down below in the comment section on YouTube, if y'all are watching, what's the best part of being a nurse for you. Or I also may post this on my Instagram, and if y'all want to share there, y'all can as well. I'm going to answer one more of these, and then we're going to get into the topic for this episode. All right, so next card. Child, y'all want to hear me talk about this? Tell me about a time you've had a conflict with another nurse. Child, and had too many damn conflicts with other nurses. I'm not gonna say it like it happens every day, but when it happens, it's like, you want to fight or what? Like, I'm just gonna tell y'all about a time that I actually was gonna end up doing a separate episode on that, but I'll discuss it here. I probably mentioned it before, and I think that I've mentioned it with Kelsey, probably because she was there, or she was around when the interaction happened. But for the new listeners out there, I'll clue y'all in, and then for the people who might have heard this story before, just ignore it, or I might recollect it differently. So I was new to this facility or whatever. Is where I worked at before I became a float pool nurse. I was working there full time, and I have been a nurse for 3 years up until the point of when I started this job. So I had a lot of experience. And for people who've come on the podcast before, they used to work with me at my initial job, a lot of the times we reference it as like the ghetto or like the hood, because there was a lot of lack of resources there, and things just wasn't done exactly how they should have because of the lack of resources. So we come from nothing, basically. And so this new job for me was basically like a hood kid moving to the suburbans. Like, when I got there, I was like, oh my God, y'all have all this. Like, y'all only get this amount of patients. Like, y'all always have a tech. Like, I was just like so shook by things because I've never seen them before. I'm like, y'all could contact y'all doctors that easily. Like, it was kind of just like crazy to me, because that's not a part of nursing that I had experienced before. And honestly, I'm grateful that it went that way, because now I don't take things for granted. And since I've seen the worst side of nursing, or like a more worse, you know, I have a different perspective about things. So I don't feel like I don't complain as much like with this new company that I'm with, because I'm like, it's better than over there type of thing, even if there is a little BS going on, but that's everywhere, like I was saying earlier. But I said all that to say is that I was an experienced nurse, so I had experience essentially with a lot of different things, and I had charged up until that point. I've done a lot of things, right? So I went to this job. I'm off orientation at this point, but I'm still fairly new to the facility, maybe not even a month or two in. And sometimes that seemed like a lot to some people, because you already have experience, but there's a lot of differences between facilities, like with the protocols and how they do stuff. And on orientation, yeah, you're like taking care of patients or whatever, but you might not necessarily get that type of situation until you're on your own. So with this situation, I had a patient who passed. So I know the basics for what to do for a patient who dies, but I didn't know how this facility did it. I've done it many a times before at my old facility, unfortunately. But at this new one, I never encountered that over there, so I didn't know what they did, what the documentation process was like, or any of the things. I didn't know who they contacted regarding things. And it also was different because not only was it a different facility, but I also was working days and not nights. On nights, there's less resources and there's different ways of doing things because certain people aren't there to facilitate whatever they normally do. Like on nights, a lot of the times, like the nurses do everything because we don't have that resource there. So I had a charge nurse that I was working with. She's a relief charge nurse. And it was really unfortunate because I did like her, and the way she handled that situation shifted my perspective of her a little bit. But my patient died. I called her to let her know. I think it was an expected death. It wasn't like something we had to do a code blue on. So I was just like letting her know, notifying her of what happened. I think I had already called the NP. The NP's who pronounces the death at the bedside. So I think I've already done that, or was about to do that, or something of that nature. But I just wanted to let her know what was going on because she was a charge nurse. When I called her, you know, she was in another patient room trying to place an IV. So I was just like, okay, but you know, I have this going on, and this kind of like takes precedent over an IV. Now I don't know if like the needle was in the man's vein already, or you were about to start trying to do it, or where you were at in the process. But to me, I'm like, the patient died. It's like 5 o'clock or something like that. It's like nearing the end of the shift. So there's a lot of things that need to be done, and we don't have time to do it. I try to do as much as I can before the oncoming shift comes on, but needless to say, I just felt like my stuff was more important at the time than getting the patient IV. That's important too, but sometimes you have to prioritize with like being a nurse. The only reason why I felt like this was a little bit more important was because like there's a certain amount like of time that could pass before you call life gift and all this other stuff that you have to document and notify the doctor, notify this person, notify that person, like, and you have to like document the times you call all that stuff, so it should be timely. So it wasn't the fact that she was trying to put the IV in. It was more the fact that she seemed dismissive of what I had going on, and I'm communicating to her that I don't know what I'm doing because I'm new here. So she was just like, I'm busy. I'm putting the IV in. And I'm like, okay, like, so like what at that point? You know what I'm saying? And she hung up. So I'm just kind of like, am I left to figure this shit out on my own or what? So I just felt like dismissed and like abandoned to an extent, because it's like, what am I supposed to do? There's not really a lot of experienced nurses on that unit, and I think on that day it was like nobody that's been there for an extended period of time to know how to deal with this, what I'm dealing with, in order to ask them. So I was just like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, I could figure it out because I'm a figure it out type of person, but I shouldn't have to do that when I have a free charge nurse. So I was just kind of irritated because I'm like, you just left me out there and you didn't even, it's not like she was like, I'll be there in 5 minutes. I'm placing an IV right now. Or like, you know, I'll like, are you telling the patient I'll be right back, I'll put this in later or something? Like, I don't know. It's like just the way she handled it, which is what my problems are for a lot of the things. It's not what they do, it's how they do it. So she didn't communicate any of that to me. She just basically told me she was busy. She put in an IV and she hung up. Like I didn't get any idea of her trying to help me. Like that she was going to come back around and try to let me know like she was going to help me out. So I was just like, okay, what the hell, you know? So I'm stuck trying to figure this stuff out. I know like some stuff to do because I've done this before. So I basically got started with like the aftercare, like cleaning the body, you know, taking the lines out and whatever, putting them in the body bag, you know, putting the tags on them and things like that. And I think by that time when I was done with all that, night shift nurse had already came in, and luckily the night shift charge nurse was there and she was able to assist me with it. Thank God for her, because then I come to find out that the day shift charge nurse didn't even know how to do the stuff, which irritated me further because I'm like, if you didn't know how to do it, you should have just told me that. You shouldn't have just left, because it's not like she like she didn't check back on me. Like she didn't do any of the things. Like I didn't see her until after I already started trying to figure it out with the night shift charge nurse. And that's what I was just like, what the hell? Like you just like, this is how you're gonna do it? Like I didn't like that. Anyway, night shift charge nurse ended up helping me, and the matter was resolved, to sum it all up. But I had a serious problem with that, and I think I had an other conflict with her, like another time that she charged, and I told her that I didn't appreciate how she was treating me. I'm like, I know I'm experienced, I know what I'm doing, but when I have a question, I have a real question. I wouldn't come to you asking questions if I knew what to do. It's not like I'm asking like trivial things. Like the stuff that I'm asking you is stuff that I've already, like, I've searched my knowledge. I done called some people, like they don't know what to do. Like, so now I'm coming to you as a charge nurse. If you don't know the answer, just say that. Like we could call OA, or we could call another charge nurse from a different unit. We could figure it out together, but like don't just like leave me like to figure this stuff out on my own. Like it's not your problem too, and this is your unit. You know, I didn't like that. So I definitely communicated that with her, and she apologized, but she knew like I couldn't even hide the fact that I was like upset with her. Like it was past irritation. Like I was not happy with her. But that's the conflict that I had with another nurse, and we still worked. She don't work, well obviously we don't work anymore together because I work float pool now, but she had left before I did. But we were able to work together fine after that. Like I didn't have a problem with her personally. I just didn't like how she did things as a charge nurse, and I feel like sometimes as a relief charge nurse you should have more understanding than maybe like a full-time charge nurse, because I feel like sometimes they could get removed from things because they've not been a bedside nurse in so long, like a staff bedside nurse. So I feel like sometimes like they don't feel the same things we feel because they don't have to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Whereas with the relief charge nurse, it's like you're still down here in the gutter with me, like trying to figure stuff out, and you don't like how this charge nurse does things, so why would you do that? Like that's just how I feel about it. But that's a conflict I had with another nurse. I was gonna actually share that on a different episode, but it's funny that it came up the way it did. Y'all can let me know if y'all have had any conflicts with nurses. I'm sure y'all had, because like we're human and it's just like inevitable, right? So what brought me to wanting to do a solo episode is, like I said, towards the end of the year I get real reflective, right? And I came across this post on Instagram. It's called Babe on a Budget. That's the Instagram handle, or whatever you call those things. And it's 36 things to consider other than base salary when switching jobs. I think Alex and I referenced this as well during our episode, coincidentally, that like sometimes like the money is nice and all that, but there's more to working and more to picking a job than just the financial side of it. And I also touched base on that, on how much does a dollar cost. I put that episode out like a while ago, but it's just like people don't think about that. People think that being a nurse is like cool because we get paid a lot and, you know, we get to see some cool things, but it also can be very mentally and emotionally exhausting. I'm sure more people are able to relate after us experiencing the pandemic, but it really changes your viewpoint on what you want out of a career. And I feel like I've always kind of been in a healthy state of mind when it comes to that, because I'm like, what is this serving me? Like, what is my purpose in life? What am I trying to do? What am I trying to accomplish? What do I want my lifestyle to look like? Does this match up with that? Like, that's kind of where I start from. And I'm glad that in high school I went to this class called Avid. I was in it, and it was basically like a college prep course, but it also like made us think about, what do you want your life to look like? Because I feel like sometimes people just choose jobs, because it actually was trying to help us like decide what we want to major in, what we want to do like job wise and stuff like that, and like what kind of college you wanted to go to, because that all kind of goes hand in hand. Like, we not just out here getting degrees for no reason, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of helped us put it things into perspective with that. Like, is this job going to get you what you want out of life? Like, whether it be financially, or like, are you going to feel fulfilled with it, and all those sorts of things. So this really plays a part, like I said, because a lot of times when people think of nurse, they think of it being a nice job because we're, paid very well, like good compared to a lot of other jobs, it's flexible. Like, a lot of stuff is like face value, like they're like, oh, it's all good or whatever. But like I said, sometimes there's a lot of other stuff going on behind the scenes that people don't understand, or they don't have to deal with. Like, y'all don't have to deal with people trying to cuss y'all out. Y'all, well, maybe y'all do, but you know what I'm saying. Y'all don't have to deal with people dying on you. You don't feel like people's lives are in your hand. That's a different level of stress and anxiety that your job don't come with. If you mess up, like, ain't nobody go die or nothing like that. The law's not coming behind you, like, if you don't document something correctly. So it's just stuff like that. So like I was saying, that this post is 36 things to consider when switching jobs other than base salary. So we're gonna talk about those, and if I have anything to add other than what they just listed, then I will. So the first thing they have, and I don't think this is in any particular order, is paid time off. So as a full pool nurse now, I work PRN, so I don't get paid time off. So I have to work to live, basically, which is good and bad, because now I got motivation to go work, because I'm like, I gotta pay these bills. I get paid like a lot more hourly because of that, so it's like there's that side of it. But I don't have like PTO that I accrue, and that's kind of underrated, PTO, because it's like, the bad part about it, like with regular people, staff jobs, nursing, is that you got to request it. I feel like you shouldn't have to really request paid time off, other than the fact that they need people to cover the unit. I feel like if y'all got, like, if it ain't 5 people trying to go somewhere at one time, like, that's fine. But the way some of these jobs be trying to pigeonhole PTO, and like, oh, I'm not approving this time because this person asked for one other person asked for the time off, it's kind of like, really, nigga? Like, okay. So I don't like that side of it, but the idea of paid time off is great. Like, you could just take a month off and you're still getting paid like you would, like, if you're going to work. So I think that's is awesome. But I don't miss the part of, like, trying to figure, like, you can't plan stuff last minute. So you over here trying to plan your vacation, and you hoping you get off, but you don't really know if you're going to get off. So now you're trying to pray, like, oh, hopefully they approve this time, and all that stuff that goes into it. So paid time off. Also, with that, kind of like, how much does it accrue per paycheck? Because some people's is more than others. So there's that too. 401k match. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, so I won't pretend to know all the things. So I'm not going to comment on that. I was going to try to say something, but 401k match. That. I do my best with my stuff, and I do my own research, and I just hope that it all pays out in the end. But I'm not good at that sort of stuff just yet to be trying to tell y'all anything about it. So 401k match. Opportunities for promotion/growth. So this could be important, depending on if you're one of those people that feel like you need to be challenged or something like that, or like you like to learn new things. I feel like that's always an opportunity in nursing. Like, you can always learn something new. At my job, they had it where we can learn how to put in the ultrasound guided IV. So I definitely want to learn how to do that, because everybody about to get one if I know how to do it. Okay? Because we ain't playing with these regular IVs no more. If I got time and you been here for a long time, yeah, we gonna do that. So that's something I actually was interested in. They also have like different levels and stuff in my job where it's like if you do this, and that, and the third, then you get like promoted basically to like a higher level of RN and things of that. So I think it's good because then you can like make goals for yourself within your job, not necessarily like, oh, I want to go back to school or anything like that, but there's stuff that you could do to advance your career that way. So I think that's very important. Also, opportunities for promotions, like you can advance up the ranks. I feel like most nursing jobs are like that, where if you want to like become a charge nurse, then eventually you become one or whatever. But in my job, at least, they push you to try to do a lot of different things. So there's that. Another thing to consider, insurance benefits. Like I said, can't tell y'all a lot about it. I call my person, I ask them, I hear what they got to say, I pick it, and I move on. So I don't know what to tell y'all. Work-life balance. Now, that's very important. I feel like we learned just how important that was during the pandemic. So in the effort to not get burnt out, it's essential that you figure that out. So Alex and I also kind of touched base on that a little bit too, because we were talking about like trying to like determine like what kind of hours we want to work. We were saying like the 9 to 5 is good in the aspect where it starts later, so you'd probably, and it's a set schedule, so you'd be able to work out probably more consistently than if you work 3/12s. I feel like you could work out on your off days, but then sometimes your off days are full with things you need to do before you go back to work. So it kind of goes like, I feel like it's easier with working out and stuff like that to kind of just schedule something like, okay, every day I'm going to wake up at 7, I'm going to work out for however amount of time, and then I'm going to shower, eat breakfast, and go to work. Like, I feel like that's easy to do, and you just do it every day and you don't even realize you're doing it because it's normal. But whereas with being a staff, like a nurse that makes their own schedule and it's not necessarily set, it's kind of like your week changes week by week, so you just kind of have to like puzzle piece your life in there. So that's how I feel about that. The next one is severance packages as part of your contract. There's also work phone / cell phone reimbursement, so that'll be helpful with you cutting down your expenses. Employee stock purchase programs, equity grants, continued education opportunities, transportation / parking benefits. Now that I can speak on, because when I was working in the medical center, I'm like, why am I spending $13 to go to work every day? I did not like that. And I never liked it. I didn't want to work in the medical center for that reason. Like, that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to work there, but I ended up having to for a little bit, just because of the availability with people who would float there or whatnot. But yeah, we'd have to park in the parking garage or whatever. First, you could do different things. You could park somewhere, catch the train, and then go to work. Or you park somewhere, ride the shuttle, then go to work. Like, who got time for all that? Why is it taking me 30 minutes to get to work, then another 15 minutes to get to the actual job location, then 10 minutes to go to the place where I find out where I'm at for the shift, and then I gotta walk there. Like, I'm like, I ain't like all that. That's why I like my community hospitals. That's all my hospitals now are community hospitals, and I just go there and I just walk in. I like that, and I don't have to pay. So to me, that does make a difference, because it added an extra layer of anxiety to my work day before I even got to work. Flexibility, that's my favorite thing. One of my favorite things with being a nurse is that I could change my schedule however I want it, work culture, that's a big one. Like, depending on who you work, the values they uphold. I won't limit it to just units, because I'm like, people talk about the units, but a lot of the times the people who are there now are not the people who end up staying there. Them people be gone within a 1 year or 2 year span a lot of the time. So I think more so if it's somebody who's been there for a while, like, you feel like they ain't leaving, then okay, they become part of like the culture. But I feel like it really starts from the top. like how the charge nurse and manager act and things like that, how what the company upholds and stuff like that, that help with work culture. So they also have on here performance bonuses, telecommunicate wait telecommuting options. So I think that's more of like a work from home situation, which could be very beneficial. That's what my husband does now, and it saves us a lot of gas. Before, he was working like an hour away from home, so imagine driving an hour to work and an hour from work every day. So that's 2 hours every day, Monday through Friday. That's a lot of gas money. So that was a good option for him, so he decided to do that. Saved us a lot of money in gas. Tuition reimbursement, that's a big one to me, especially with nursing, seeing as though you could get like a LVN or ADN, then work at the hospital as a tech or as a nurse, then get them to assist with paying for you to get a BSN if that's what you want to do. So to me, that's important. Any assistance is better than none for me. Commute time, that's a big one too. I had a problem with that with my old job. I used to drive an hour to work, and I was working night shift. So after a while that got old. So that was part of the reason why I went to my last full-time job, is because it was like 25 minutes away from my house, which is way better than an hour, right? Daycare reimbursement, student loan repayment programs, that's a big one too. Professional development. As a nurse, you won't ever have to worry about that because you always have to take somebody's class, okay? Parental leave, gym reimbursement. I do have something to say about that, but I think I saw the same thing a little bit later on the list. Travel opportunities. I mean, if you're interested in that, right? Because I'm not at this point. Free food / coffee. Oh, you drink the unit coffee, child, but I don't really drink coffee like that. But it is helpful to have stuff on site that you can go to buy from if you don't bring your lunch. I try to do everything to cut my costs down, right? So I try to bring my lunch for the most part when I go to work. But also it really helps when those days that you come to work, especially me because I go to different units, and they be like, oh, somebody brought collages today. You be like, what? That's what's up. I did that before. Some years back, I had brought cupcakes or something to the unit because I had some like a whole case left over from a party for Jordan. I think I'm gonna start trying to do that. Remember how I was saying earlier in the episode how I want to be a blessing to others? I might start doing that, like when I go different places, like buying a dozen of sausage, cheese, kolaches, and donuts or something, and leaving it in the break room, just to be nice. And like stuff like that means a lot to people, or at least it means a lot to me. So I think I might start doing that every now and then when I go to different places. Like, hey, by the way, y'all, there's stuff in here. Next one is schedule / hours. So that's what I was also talking about not too long ago, trying to figure out what works best for you. Everything is personal, right? So everything that somebody else needs is not the same thing you need. So that's the hard part, is you got to figure out what works best. Use of a company laptop, moving costs if you're relocating. That'd be big for me if I'm relocating. Yeah, you gotta help me do some, okay? Volunteering opportunities, job title, signing bonuses. That's a big thing in nursing too. But a lot of times they say if you're doing a sign-on bonus, then that means the unit's really short, so you're gonna have a hell of a time getting started on there. But hey, I'm getting 15,000. You know what I'm saying? But that's just something to consider. Location for me more so goes along with the commute, but for me it also could go with, like I said, the medical center versus community hospitals. Like the medical center, it was like way more complex cases than like the community hospitals. And even with some of the other community hospitals, 2 of the other ones I go to, they're pretty similar with the type of patients they get. And then I have one that's like easy breezy, you know what I'm saying? Like they come in with pneumonia, cellulitis, like things like that. Whereas with the other higher community hospitals, a little bit more complex with that. And then the medical center is like way more. So that's the difference between locations for me. Like what kind of patient are you trying to treat? Because I mean, ICU or ED with a 12 bed or something small like that is not the same as like the medical center emergency room, So that's something to consider. Use of a company car. mileage slash gas and reimbursements, personal fulfillment. That will beat them every time. Well, we got to make good money too, but personal fulfillment is a big one. On-site facilities. So that's what I was referencing earlier about the gym reimbursement. You got the gym, you got cafes, like what the food looking like there, which y'all got here. That's like I don't have to go outside to try to get nothing if something should happen at work. And then also interesting slash challenging work. I feel like work needs to be a little bit challenging in order to keep you interested and not bored. But the older I get, the more okay I am with being bored. I used to not like being bored, but now I'm like, it's not as bad as I thought it was. It's too much stuff going on in other areas in my life. I'm okay with being bored now. So we are nearing the end of our episode, guys. It's been fun talking with y'all. Hopefully y'all enjoyed a little old me coming about to talk to y'all, just me and y'all. So we're going to close this episode with a scrub and sip. I don't really know if I have anything to scrub right now, but it's always something getting on my nerves, so probably so. Let me try to think about my last day at work. Okay, I could talk about something. So, I've been working in ER a lot, right? Holding patients, which is cool. I like it. Not too bad. They don't have a lot going on because they're new here. So, they got like some beef, which is part of the reason why I left like working on one unit. They got some beef between like the ER nurses and the ER hold nurses, which there should be no beef at all because the ER hold nurses is helping the ER nurses because now they can treat ER patients instead of treating patients who go be sent up to the floor. You know what I'm saying? But maybe that makes it easier for them because they don't have as much to do for them. I don't know, but I think that maybe that decreases their patient load. Regardless of the matter, I feel like they're helping alleviate some things. So the thing is, they be like checking on the ER hold nurses, like, why y'all on your phones? Like, why y'all doing this? Why y'all got time to do this sort of thing? Y'all not busy? And like ER busy is not the same as like the floor busy. So people just need to learn how to mind their business because it's like, first of all, they're still down here. So a lot of times like the floor orders aren't in. I'm not gonna like keep contacting the physician to restart the home meds. You know what I'm saying? I already did that. So it's like if I already did everything for them, they're not in pain, they're not nauseated, the vitals are stable, they ate, there are no problems. Why are you worried about what I'm doing? But apparently over there, they be over there watching them, and I know this because they said something to me, but I just don't give a damn about being on your phone at work. If I've already done all I'm supposed to do for this patient, and I'm literally waiting for them to get a bed upstairs, why are you worried about what I'm doing? Is that helping? Is me being off my phone helping you? And yeah, that's basically it. That's how I feel about it. So I'm scrubbing that because I'm like, why? I hate when people waste their time worrying about things that don't matter. You need to be worried about why y'all didn't do these troponins 8 hours ago when it was due. How about that? I'm just saying. So I'm scrubbing that because that's part of the reason why I didn't like, being on the units for like extended period of times, because it's like you start picking up on the little things they be doing. You be like, you know what? I don't like that. And, it is what it is. What I am sipping to is, last week at work, I had a good week. My last shift when I was in the ER, it was pretty good. We had moved all my patients up. I went there on Tuesday and Saturday. We moved all of our patients up like before shift change. So when like the next shift got there, we didn't have any patients to get them. So I'm sipping to that because I got to go home early, and I love that for me. I love not having to give report, even though it's easier to give report in the ER than it is on the floor. It's faster. That's why I like working in the ER. Because it's like boom, 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 boom. I could go home. All right, bet, Whereas on the floor, I might not leave till like 7:30, 7:45, depending on how long these people take. Then it's split all my patients up. I hate that too. You got one patient for one nurse, two for another, and one for another. Or however they do it. I'd be like, girl, really? But anyway, I'm sipping to leaving work early and ER reports being Nice. If y'all have anything to sip to, y'all go ahead and sip along with me. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode.